Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sipping and Selling
with Joey Chanel. Welcome back to another episode of Sipping and Selling. Today's guest is Conor Begley from Father's Brewing, my first beer guest. I know you guys know that I have zero idea about the beer industry. I've been trying to learn about it. So today I have Conor here to talk all things beer industry. Welcome to the show, Conor.
Oh, thanks for having me on, Joey. And that I did not know I was going to get that honor, so that's a big deal. I'm pumped.
Good. I'm pumped too. We were talking a little bit before. You had a podcast, so you're a seasoned pro. I'm very excited to have a conversation with you, not just about beer, but we're going to tap into all different things, pun intended. So I'm sipping on Father's Brewing. This is your product. You sent me some samples. It's delicious. This is clean American light lager, and I think it's delicious. I talked about how I didn't grow up running around drinking beers. I was the girl playing beer pong and putting like wine in it, which is so bad. But I didn't drink underage, and I was not the college party girl at all. And I grew up in this business. So sometimes you either go towards the light or you run away from it. And I was just more interested in playing the game and winning. And like I had such a great throw at beer pong and whatever. But I didn't grow up loving beer. It was something that scared me. Obviously, people have an affliction and a love for it. And I'm just learning about it now because it's having a movement. You've talked about this a little bit because I followed your podcast. And for those of you listening that don't follow Father's Brewing, please do so and follow Conor because he's going through it as a new founder. He started this company recently. I want to say you're about 9 months in. Is that right?
Yeah, so we started working on it last July and then launched on-prem this July, just to see like would it sell, right? Would people buy it? Was it as good as we thought it was? And then, and then Whole Foods got in touch almost immediately and like, hey, we want to carry you. And I was like, we don't even have our bottles designed yet, let alone ready. So we, launched with Whole Foods regionally in September, like mid to late September. So it's been whatever that is, like 5 months in package. And yeah, we're in about 250 points of distribution now, all within just a couple of counties. And so, yeah, so it's been, 5 months in package, probably 7, 8 months selling on-prem. And then this is a bit of an announcement. We're getting picked up by the AB network, which is exciting.
Amazing.
So
Congrats.
excited
That's
for that.
huge.
Yeah, so it's good.
Anheuser-Busch, for those of you listening that aren't sure what AB is, that is Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah, and they're the largest, because that's the way that you scale these things out is through distribution, right? And so we wanted to, they were always our kind of number one target. And so we wanted to get their attention. And yeah, they're excited about it. We're excited about it. So it's going to be fun.
Outrageous. So as I was saying, beer is not my forte. There's all different types of beers. There's all different types of lagers and, pale ales, and there's flavors, and there's all these different types. However, why Conor started this, from what I gather, is that not a lot of beer is clean. And he has proudly stated on his bottle that it is an organic product, which is, I'm sure, how Whole Foods got a hold of you. And that's pretty amazing, ahead of being bottled and packaged. So what's that story? How did they find you?
Yeah, so we, they're desperate for more organic products, and there's just almost none out there. We had, it was funny, we had this call with a national buyer, Justin, who's a great guy, and, we thought it was just going to be, quick call, whatever, and, we were like 15 minutes into the call, he goes, yeah, there's not a lot of choices out there, so, or the pickings are slim, so you're in. We're like, what? Like, oh, okay, we don't even have, like, we're not, ready for it. But yeah, it's been cool. I mean, I think that in general, people are starting to pay more attention to what they put in their bodies. And I think that alcohol is a really interesting category in that you really don't know. There's no like ingredient lists, there's no nutritional panels, there's nothing out there. And so, there's just not a lot of transparency around the products. And so, being a brand that says, hey, we're going to be really transparent, here's everything you need to know about the product, and it's going to be as clean as you can possibly make it, has found a consumer. So, yeah, we just got confirmation from Sprouts and got confirmation from BevMo And then we're in conversations with both Safeway and Costco that I'm excited about. And yeah, so it's gonna be fun. It's it's a new era, which is exciting.
Totally. Such a new era. And I'm so happy that you are my first beer guest because you're on you're on the up and up, and you guys you have a really fun, unique story. And I would love to get into that. I believe that you have multifaceted, very unique, I guess, partners that come from all different walks of life. And I think that that's really interesting to share with the audience because most of the people that I meet on this podcast, if they're not already clients of mine, most of them come from the industry, and it's just like,
Yeah.
we learned something or we saw something and we were like, we could do that better or whatever, and that's not you guys' story. So I want to share that with my listeners. It's very cool backstory.
Yeah, it's definitely not the easy path, right? It's easier to kind of stick with what you know. There's a lot of advantages to that. But I think that for us, we saw this opportunity and it's really exciting and we all love the category, which is good. But yeah, we got lucky and put together a little bit of a dream team. So it's like I co-founded a software company. We bootstrapped that, sold it for 70 million in 2021. And I stayed on the board and the exec team and we almost tripled the size of the business. It's now the largest influencer marketing software company in the world. And we worked really extensively in Bev. So we worked with, Prime, Alani Nu, Red Bull, Celsius, Poppy, Olipop. We worked with InBev, right? The Budweiser Group. Worked with just a ton of brands in that space, and got to see kind of the impact that social media could have for some of these brands. Like a Beatbox was a customer of ours,
Hmm.
and said, "Hey, I think we can apply that same approach here in beer because most people it's just a new motion; they don't necessarily know how to do it." And then my co-founder started a brand called Youth to the People. They got that up to about 100 million in revenue within, I think, 5 or 6 years, and then sold it to L'Oreal, so strategic exit. And then our CFO, Steve, was the CFO of my last company. He sold a little over $3 billion worth of companies. And then our brewer is one of the best lager makers in the country. He's won over 40 medals in the last, I think, 5, 6 years. And then our other co-founder is a guy named Gabe Rangel, who's a Special Forces Marine and now an elite athlete trainer. So he trained Tom Brady, he trained Adam Levine, he trained Diddy back in the day. He currently trains Jalen Hurts and Lane Johnson of the Eagles and about a couple dozen other players. So Lane's an investor. So he really helps us out getting into the athlete and influencer world. So yes, it's been cool. It's fun. And I think for me, I spent a lot of time over the last year and a half really getting to know the industry, right? So we flew to St. Louis and met with a bunch of the Budweiser folks. We flew to Boston, met with a bunch of the Boston beer folks. We met with the current CEO, Price Greenow of Sierra Nevada. We met with the prior CEO of Sierra Nevada, Jeff White. And so, really have just tried to learn as much as we can because it is different. It's a very, very, very different industry, and relationships matter so much in this industry. And so it's been fun. It's been fun diving in and getting to know and meet new people and make new friends. So yeah, it's exciting.
It is exciting, and that makes a little bit more sense now hearing about the software technology that at least were, I guess, paying attention to what some of these other brands were doing, and the influence that they had in the market did help probably tailor make some of the ideas. So let's go into the story about the beer. You guys are all from California, and you guys just like one night decided to look into the ingredients of beer, or what was the story that decided, let's put this concept in a bottle?
Yeah. So I think a lot of it came from my co-founder Joe's company. So we're kind of the two primary co-founders, right, that started. And Joe started this clean skincare company. And if you were to look at the beauty industry, it kind of had a similar phenomenon, right? There was like very little information around what was in the products. And if you looked into what was in the products, there wasn't the best stuff, right? Like there's some nasty stuff that was ending up in these skincare and makeup products. And we just looked at beer and like I love beer. I have a beer every night. Like, and I'm like, I don't even know what's in this thing, right?
Mhm.
And so we spent $20,000 to $25,000 and ran all the different beers through labs. Sure, ran about 25 different beers through labs. Just looked at who's at the top of the list from Nielsen, kind of down the list. Turns out there's all kinds of nasty stuff, right? So there's lead, there's arsenic, there's Roundup in all of them. There is people are getting weird about plastic water bottles, but a pale ale will have 30 to 40 times more plastic in it than a plastic water bottle, as well as all the PFAs. And this is not just a phenomenon of beer, right? This is something that is broadly, I mean, frankly, it affects almost the entire food industry, but definitely affects alcohol more broadly. And so that was like, oh shit, okay, this is real.
Hmm.
And we think there's a consumer like us that cares about what they're putting in their bodies. Because I think for a long time, people have written off alcohol consumers and just said, like, oh, they don't give a shit. Like they're drinking alcohol, they don't care about their bodies. And it's just not true, right? Like most people do. And so, yeah. And I think what's been really fun for me is, in the beauty industry, what happened was there's about a dozen or so of these brands that got acquired for 100 million to $1 billion plus. And eventually it became like an aisle in Sephora. It was called the clean beauty aisle.
Right.
And you walk in, you're like, well, obviously I would like to have something from there, right? And so we've really tried to bring that same ecosystem feel together. We launched this, it's called the Clean Alcohol Collective with Southsides, which is a ready to drink gin cocktail that's all organic.
Yes, Meredith
Um,
has been on my show.
Oh, there you go. So love Meredith. So
Yeah.
Meredith and I co-founded that. And, we now have, I think it's close to a dozen brands. We launched, we got covered in BevNet and then have added another half dozen brands. We were just in, front page of Beverage Daily about the rise of clean alcohol yesterday. So I think it's something that is coming, right? Which is
Yeah.
cool. So, yeah.
Amazing. Okay, but still, so all these people were in your life in some way, shape, or form, and you like a beer, and then all of a sudden it was just like, okay, we're gonna make our own product because we see the void. And then what? Like we started hopping into different breweries and just tasting and trying to figure out what we liked, what we didn't like. Did the label come first? Was the idea to have more than one SKU? Were we looking for investors? Like talk about everything so that people understand that, first of all, this is a little guerrilla style, but it's also very unique. The way you guys landed a product on the shelves, honestly, it's one in a million stories.
I mean, we were told that. I was talking to somebody who's like, "Oh yeah, Sprouts will take anything in, but it's really hard to get Whole Foods." I was like, "We got Whole Foods before we even had packaged products. It's like crazy."
Yeah, that doesn't
Um,
happen.
yeah, it doesn't happen. And so I think that to kind of go through the sequence of events, right? So first, it was like, okay, Joe and I, we think this is a really good idea. Let's go out and figure out if it's real. Like, are the products, like, can we make it better? Does it have nasty stuff in it? And then it was like, okay, can we get a team around this? So Steve had been really pushing on doing this again. Steve, our CFO, is also my father-in-law. So he's the CFO of my last company, which is kind of
Aw.
fun. And that's fun. He's been pushing because we both love beer. He's been pushing us to kind of start something, which has been fun. And so anyway, so it was like, okay, so first it was like the idea. Then it was like, okay, let's recruit the team, or let's validate the idea, then recruit the team to do it. And then Joe is a really big he spends a lot of time getting every little detail right, right? Particularly from a branding and packaging perspective. And so we went with the agency that did Garage Beer, as well as the former art director for Sierra Nevada for like a decade,
Okay.
and like worked the ever living shit out of the
Mhm.
branding. And so started working on that. And then kind of simultaneously, we knew that sure, we can get people in with this story, but like the liquid is ultimately why they're going to come back, right? If it doesn't taste amazing, they're not going to come back. And you have to have a really, really, really high bar because almost every really big alcohol brand or beer brand is built off of like one or two SKUs, right? It's like how many SKUs does Stella have? One. How many does Guinness have? Really, it's one, right? Like
Mhm.
how many does Corona have? Two, right? Like all these really big brands are built off of a very, very small. Budweiser's built off of two, right?
Mhm.
And really, you could consider Budweiser and Bud Light as separate brands. And so we knew we had to get those right. And so we spent, we did probably 14 to 15 different batches with Harvey, who's a co-founder. And he's already, again, one of the best lager makers in the country. So he's a protege of Will Kemper up at Chuckanut, who's probably
Nice.
the most awarded lager maker in the country. And then a protege of Charlie Bamforth over at Davis, who was a number two at Budweiser prior to them getting acquired by InBev. So he's like insanely talented. And so we're already starting on third base, right? But then we like just tested the ever living shit out of it. And I think we knew in order to make this clean, so that plastics issue, that microplastics issue, is very prevalent in beer. kind of shockingly so. And it turns out it almost comes all from the hops. So we had to figure out, well, how do we get that out?
Right.
And so we had to filter it super, 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 super finely. It's like the wavelength of yellow light is how small we're filtering this thing. And so we had to say, can we make it taste amazing? Can we make it really clean? And so that was a big, that branding process and um, the product creation process was like, probably 6 to 9 months at least. And really, frankly, we didn't even really finalize the recipe until maybe 3 or 4 months ago.
Okay.
And so during that time, one of the things that I did was we probably did I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of blind tastings with other loggers. Just like, hey, sit down. Here's 4 beers. Tell me which one's your favorite, right? And we wouldn't stop until we won, the vast majority of the time. And so right now, this light lager is the highest rated lager on Untapped in the country, and the red lager is the third highest rated on Untapped in the country. So they taste really good, right?
They do.
Um, and so, and they're only, this one's only 100 calories, that one's only 115 calories, which is nice. And so that was the process, right? So it was like, you know, here's the idea. Let's validate that it's real. Then let's get a team. Then we have to create the product and the brand. And then it was like, okay, let's go test that live, try to sell it, see if people will buy it and buy it again and come back, repeat purchase. And then that was, and then Whole Foods. And then from there, it's like, okay, well, now we have Whole Foods, which is good. And we've got a little bit of local traction, but we need to get enough traction to get the attention of the distributors, right? Because you
Hmm.
can't build a really big brand self-distributing; it just doesn't work. And so then we spent aggressively on sales and marketing in a very confined geographic area. So we said, okay, let's pick these 2 counties and just hammer the ever living shit out of it,
Hmm.
particularly on premise, right, to drive sampling. And so built a reputation very, very quickly. We're spending a lot though, right? We're spending like $50,000 a month on sales and marketing just in that little area. So
Right.
we're running 4 to 10 events a week, um, and so, but that worked, right? So then that got the attention of the distributors. So now, okay, now we've got the distributor attention. Now we got to get all the chains, right? So that's been the real focus over the last 60 days. It got Sprouts, got BevMo, and I think Safeway and Costco are really excited. And so feeling good about that. So that's been the kind of timeline over the last 18 months.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, listen, I keep going back to it because it is fascinating to me, especially for a beer brand. Like you're going after a category that I had my brother-in-law on not too long ago, and he owns a very big beer distributor out in Long Island. And he's like talking about beers that came and gone, and ones that were big deal for a long time. And he had people calling and collecting, and now they're gone. And it's an industry that it's like, why do you want to go after something that is so well known? And I talk about this on the show a lot, that it's like you're not looking to take away space from them, right? Like you're allowed to
Mm-mm.
stand alongside, or in your case, in its own lane. It sounds so simple that you wanted to do something cleaner. I mean, that's exactly what's happening, right, in our world. And you talked about that with the beauty industry. It's happening with water, like you talked about. I mean, every time I'm online, that's all I see, or microplastic this and that. And it just sounds so simple, but I'm interested, like, why didn't anybody decide to do it? And it's back to one of those things. It's like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But it's also like, is it more expensive? Like, what do you think was the reason that nobody decided to do this? Especially because everybody's always looking for something new and innovative, and everybody's looking to take over, maybe, I guess, I don't like the word takeover, but shine a light and be the new shiny, something. And I'm curious why. Like, is it more expensive to do that, or no? It's just you guys just stepped in shit and you got lucky.
I think that a few things, right? So I think one, people have tried organic beer before, and I don't know that the market was ready, right?
Okay.
I think in a lot of ways, put politics aside, but like the whole kind of Maha movement and like I think interest in what is in our products is something that has allowed it to kind of cross the chasm and be more broadly, people are more open to it, right, than they were even let's say 3 years ago or 5 years ago. And so I think it's the right timing, right? Because people have, tried it before and it hasn't really kind of taken off. And then I think, it is more expensive for sure. It's a huge pain in the ass to be organic. you have the ingredients costs, which go up, call it 20, 30%. But then there's a lot of like documentation and, you actually have to like, it's not easy to make an organic product. Like there are certain things that you can't use that you would be able to use in a traditional beer that are not, great things. And so yeah, so it's a combination of the market wasn't quite ready, I don't think. Two, it is more expensive, and I think over the last few years, um, everybody's been spending like because the growing categories are like RTDs and non-alc and these other categories. So that's where all the innovation has been focused is over
Hmm.
there. And so now the reality is that organic beer is growing at about 8 to 12% a year, which is really good. That's like a whole category. It's actually pretty impressive. But beer as a whole has not. And so that's prevented people from wanting to get into it. But the reality is that even though beer is, contracting a little bit, it is just enormous. I mean, I think it's like a top five consumed beverage like in the country. It's like water, milk, coffee, beer. It's like
Right.
some kind of list like that. And so yes, I think it was those things: timing, and then the category being like in contraction, which kind of people shy away from going into those kinds of categories. And then yeah, I don't know.
A little bit of you stepping in shit, but that's okay.
Yeah, a little bit of that and get a little bit of getting lucky, right?
Yeah.
Like, but that's the thing. I think that like for me, this happened with our last company too, where you kind of came in as an outsider. You're like, hey, like I kind of see this a little bit different.
Right.
And so for us coming in from the outside, like, hey, it's kind of weird that like alcohol is the only thing in the grocery aisle that doesn't have an ingredients list and doesn't have, nutritional panel. Like, why is that? You know what I mean? And so, yeah, so there's a little bit of that too coming in versus like if you're in the industry, you just don't even think about it, right? It's just how it is.
Right. And again, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
So we glazed over one of my other favorite topics. And I see your helmet in your background. You're the
Mm.
Lions. I'm a Viking. But we talked about Lane Johnson. So again, for those of you, most likely my mom friends that aren't big football fans, he plays for the Eagles. How did he get involved? Why is he involved? You also touched on Garage Beer, which is teammates beer product. Like what was he jealous? FOMO? What's the story there?
Yeah, no, definitely not jealous. I think so, Gabe, my co-founder, who's actually the best man at my wedding. We've known each other since we were 14. And that's actually, if you look at all the kind of founders, it's like I've known each one of these guys. I mean, Joe is probably the lowest. It's been like 9 years, right?
Okay.
So like 9, 10, 15, 25 years. So he trains Lane and they're very, very good friends. Lane, he'll actually be like the best man at Lane's wedding, right? And so
Wow.
I was co-founding it with Gabe and Lane, just really liked the concept and wanted to support Gabe and wanted to be a part of the brand. And so that was how he got involved. And I think that we're going to lean. We've got a couple other NFL players, and that are investors too. I think we have now, I think like 30 to 35 different investors, people that have put in money, and
Nice.
it's a mixture of like brand founders, like the founders of K18, and we've got a partner at Unilever Ventures, and we've got just a bunch of people, right, that are all supportive of the company. And so yeah, so that's how we got Lane involved, and I think more broadly, the concept I've really latched on to. Augustus Bush, either he wrote the book or he had the book written about him, but there's a phrase that he's very much connected to, which is we're in the business of making friends,
Oh,
which I think is a very, very interesting phrase, particularly in the beer industry. And so, for us, getting 35 to 40 people to be investors and have shares and be a part of the company, guess who shows up at every one of our events? Guess who brings beer to every one of their parties? Guess who supports us in every way that they can, right? That's those people. And so for us, getting friends involved, just one is fun, but two has a really big impact on the actual growth of the company. And so, yeah, so we got Lane involved, and we'll get, I think we get quite a few more NFL guys to be involved. So, yeah.
perfect. I mean, it's a match made in heaven. So,
Right? And they're all linemen too, so they all love beer. So it's like, why wouldn't you work with them?
yeah, it's kismet. We talked before when we first met. You guys were getting geared up for Super Bowl. So how did your Super Bowl event go? I followed it on social, but for those of you that didn't, let's talk about it. Let's explain what a big deal this was. Also, that you guys got to participate, being a brand new item.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of big moments, right? Things that are kind of memorable. So my last company, we did this event and we had, it was like the first year it was 500 people, the second year it was like 1,000 people, the third year it was like 1,400 people, and it had like 50 speakers and three stages and the whole shebang. And it's had an enormous impact on the business, right? We just, got a lot of new customers and whatever. And so we were talking with Gabe, who trains all these athletes, was on a video with a guy named Justin Pugh. So Justin is played in the NFL for 10 years, was a first round draft pick, actually came out the same year that Lane came out, and had Gabe on the video. And he's like, hey, we should do something together. Gabe's like, yeah, for sure. Like, let's do stuff. Because he's now a YouTuber that gets like 20 million views a month.
Wow.
And um, so I was like, hey, let's do something together. And so we started talking about different ideas. I was like, well, for us, we really want to be regionally focused, and the Super Bowl is in San Francisco, so it feels like, and um, uh, we want to be a mainstay at the Super Bowl, right? We know we want to do that, and so I was like, well, hey, let's do something together. And so what we decided was put together an event, and what we really wanted to do was get the athletes and their wives and girlfriends, who a lot of them are influencers, together with the brands. Because I knew all the brands, right? So my last podcast, we did an episode every week for 5 years, and it was like the CMO of Gucci, the CMO of Reddit, the CMO of Microsoft, right? I got to know all these people. So it's like, I feel like bringing these two groups of people together could be really powerful, because like the athletes want to meet the brands and the brands want to meet the athletes. And so we started down that journey, and then you end up getting 29 different brands to sponsor it. It was our event and Justin's. We threw it together. So Red Bull brought an F1 car. Samsonite gifted $50,000 worth of luggage. And then it was like 250 carry-on suitcases for everybody. And then
So
we filled
fun.
the carry. It was crazy. It was nuts. And then we filled the carry-ons full of, there was, I think, 18 to 20 different brands inside the carry-on. And then we had Aveline wine there, which is a clean wine brand. We had Lalo Tequila, which is an additive-free tequila brand. We had Lost Republic, which is a whiskey brand. They also have an organic vodka brand. We had Melee Vodka, which is Kevin Momoa's vodka brand. Um, we had Haley Steinfeld's Angel Margarita brand. So it was
You
good. We
had
brought all these
South Side.
exact and Southsides and Meredith, obviously, for sure. And so yeah, it was epic. And so I think going into it, I was hoping to get maybe 300 people there, 400 people there, and again, be selective,
Mhm.
invite only. But we ended up with, I think, 780 people registering for the event,
Crazy.
which was nuts. And so I think we had well over 100 million followers combined across all the people that were there. And so, yeah, it was fucking epic. It was so
Yeah.
sick, so fun, like such a good time. Movember was there. They had like, dude, we had people, we had a station where people were getting haircuts, full glam bar from Glam Squad. Therabody brought in a recovery studio where you could get an IV, the jet
Wow.
boots, yeah, so yeah, so we're gonna do it again next year in LA and go, even bigger. So it was a good time.
What a fun event. I know you invited me, but I couldn't make it. It was a little last minute for me, but next year I'll be there. That sounds like a blast. I
It was
love
sick.
that. So
It was
fun.
sick. Yeah.
That is
And we,
sick.
we brought a lot of the local people too, right? We had Sprouts there, we had BevMo, and we had like all of our restaurant partners we tried to invite. And so it was great.
That's awesome. So we're only available currently in California, but you're getting all these new placements and store partners. So when are we going to be active with the AB network? Are we going to be able to be telling the listeners that they could carry product as soon as next month, or what's the route to market strategy?
Yeah, so rolling out starting in April, and we want to be very intentional about kind of how we roll out, right? Because you have network effects that occur like geographically. So it's like if I get three restaurants and three grocery stores in the same town, I'm going to do great. If I get one grocery store and one restaurant in three different towns, maybe not so good, right? And so you want to be really intentional about how you roll out geographically. So we're going to try and attack regions, kind of region by region by region. So we're going to say, okay, we're going to hit Northern California now. So we're trying to hit like San Francisco, San Jose, the whole Bay Area, which is, 10, 15 million people. Then hit LA, just because obviously I think we'll do really well in LA. And then for me, the question then becomes, do we kind of stick West Coast, or, we've got Lane and we've got all this, we've got a big presence building out in Philly. Philly's an hour and a half from New York. Do we kind of, and I expect Philly and New York for this to do well. Everybody we give it to says we have all these hardcore Yingling drinkers that are like,
Oh,
I don't know, man, I like it better than Yingling. I'm like, oh boy.
that's
So,
good.
so I think that becomes a question. So it's like, let's dominate California first, then we'll probably hit the East Coast and expand through the West Coast, and then you kind of, you work your way towards the center.
Amazing. So, for those of you listening that are unsure about what we're talking about, usually this doesn't happen, like I keep saying, and it's just so fun to be along this journey with you, Conor, and thank you for sharing with my audience. But usually, if you're lucky and you come out with a product, your route to market isn't this guerrilla style. You'll either get a traditional distributor or you're working with one of the smaller tiers, like I've talked about, Park Street or MHW. And you're grinding, man. You're out there all the time. There's problems with each one. Either they don't have a sales force on the lower end, or you're with a big dog and they have a sales force, but you're not on top of the food chain, and you just really still have to hire your own people. And it's a grind and it's hard. And I know this because I've been in this industry 18 years and I have brands that I own with my family, and it is not easy. And usually, even if you got a placement, whether it's Total Wine because it's national, or Morton's and Landry's or whatever on premise wise, now you're screwed because now you got to find that distribution network. And basically, Conor didn't have to do that. They have this beautiful story where they were able to prove concept regionally, which is what I love. I love to cast a small net, and that's basically what you did. And you proved your concept. And I'm sure it still costs a lot of money, like you said, the 50 grand here for marketing and whatever else you spent developing it and all of that. But usually it's a lot more money that you're spending to then hopefully be able to crack into a national placement with a distributor. And it's a big deal that you guys were already able to do that in under a year. It doesn't happen. And you're lucky, but also you're being smart about it, saying, I'm not going to go to every state overnight. And that's fine because you guys have an online source, right, where people can purchase who is listening and it's maybe not carried in their state yet.
We're working on that now. Yeah, we're working on some e-com solutions to be able to get people the product, just because you have people that are, really, really passionate about these kind of clean products. So like Aveline does a shitload of revenue through
Mm-hmm.
e-com, because you have people that's what they want, right? They want the cleanest thing they can get, and they're willing to pay the shipping to get it there. So we're working on that. We don't have it ready yet, but we're working on it. And I think that, and we're trying to be, honestly, I think when we came in, what's funny is, we didn't realize like how stupid we were. We came in, we're like, oh, we're gonna do influencers, we're gonna do direct to consumer, we're gonna do all this shit. And it's like beer is it's tough to do beer direct to consumer, right? Because it's so physically heavy
Right.
and it doesn't cost that much. So it's like, you spend $20 on a case, and it's cost you $20 to ship it. It's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
most people won't do that, right? It's
Right.
not worth it. And so yeah, but I think yeah, but I mean, I tell you what, like it might sound like it's been smooth. It has been fucking grind. Like the, it was like last week I was up working from 1 to 4 a.m., 1 to 5 a.m., probably 2, 3 nights last week. And that's been like a regular occurrence for the last
Mm-hmm.
6 months. So this industry is not for the faint of heart, right? And I think it would be a lot harder. Part of the reason we've been able to do it is because we've had the success in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be really, really, really hard to do it if we didn't have that. Both from an experience perspective as well as just from a credibility perspective, because it's like it takes some money to get it up and going, right? So you haven't spent a ton yet. We spent about $1 million or so getting it
Mm-hmm.
off the ground now, but uh, but yeah,
But
it's
yeah, you definitely have the roots from being an entrepreneur. And then you touched on your father-in-law, and he sounds very successful, and that must be fun working with him. Is that where the name came from or no?
Yeah. So, where the name came from, what's funny is very early on, I really wanted to partner with Pat McAfee, right? Because he's friends with Gabe, and I think he would be fucking stellar. I just, I was always a big fan of his. Just he's probably the largest sports broadcaster in the country now. But and so I was thinking about a name, like we were like starting the naming journey. I was thinking about a name that would appeal to him, and and he would, there's these times where you go, oh, my father's father and my father's father, and so you just say that, and so it just popped into my head. I was like, oh, fathers. I was like, that's kind of a sick name. And and then we went through, of course, that was like literally the first name that I came up with. And then we went through 3 or 4 months of like branding exercises, like thinking of every name across the world. I'm like, guys, the name's fathers. Like, this is the name. Like, I've
Right.
been confident this is the name since like, and it's and what was crazy was one, it was available, right? So like we trademarked it, we own it, which is shocking. And then because there was a trademark, but it had expired, like 10, 20 years ago.
Okay.
And then in terms of, why the name, right? For me, the answer that I really like is, what is the job of a dad, right? The job of a dad is to look after the next generation, right? Literally, that's my job, is to look after my kids.
Hmm.
And for us, I think creating a beer that you can feel great about drinking, that's as clean as you can possibly be, is like our opportunity to kind of look after the next generation, right? To push the category forward in a way that, like, if we're doing our job right, we're literally saving years of people's lives, many, 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 many years of people's lives. And so I think that's for me and then obviously we're all dads, which is great. And and a lot of people that drink beer are dads. And so yeah, and it's a good bar call. Grab me a father's, right? It's easy, single word. So yeah, it just kind of checked all the boxes.
Perfect. Yeah, I think so too. It's a great label. It's very Americana. I think you called it modern Americana. I like the star in the back. And then talk to me about you're talking about the ingredient labels. It has a gram of protein. What is that about?
What's funny is, like, it's actually like 0.7 grams of protein. They're like, you could probably list 0 or 1. What do you want to list? I was like, list one. And it's so funny, like, the number of people that comment and like, oh, it's got a gram, like it's got some protein, like, great. It's pretty funny. I wouldn't say, I don't think we have like a lot more protein than anybody else. Although I was talking to an investor yesterday, and he's like, can you get protein in this thing? I was like, I don't know, man. Like, maybe. Like, I don't know if I want to be part of the protein fad that
Right.
everybody's got going. But yeah, no, it's funny. The number of times people comment on it is like wild. It's pretty cool.
I'm sure. I'm sure there's certain, you know how it is when you have a brand. There's like the similar questions you get. There's like top three that you always hear. It's the name. Now with this, that's what that's gonna be. But my producer said that he was looking at the packaging when we were setting up, and he's like, a gram of protein, so I could have 16 beers, and it's like, I'm like, yeah, okay, exactly. You're the campaign now. So funny. I love it.
Totally, totally.
Well, Fathers is the name. You work with your father in law. I asked you, has it been challenging? Is it fun? I work with my dad, and I have a lot of friends that are in the industry with their families, and they don't work with them on the day to day. It may be that, a friend of mine's dad owns a distributor, or my friend's dad owns a brand, and now they're taking it over, or whatever it is. What is the ways of working with you guys?
Yeah, it's funny kind of coming in from the outside. Like, a lot of these distributors are like 100 years old, right? Or more. It's like, a good, my brother-in-law's good friend is part of the Markstein family, which is going to be the first one we roll out with, the part of the AB network out here. And, it's like 100-year-old company, and it's like super cool. And like, you probably know him. Do you know Mike Sheehan?
Yeah, of course I do.
Okay. So he's been a huge has added huge value to us, just giving us a ton of great advice, and part of the Sheehan families and Best Day Brewing. And I think they're I think he said he's sixth generation, which is
Yeah.
like insane. um so yeah, so I think for us and this kind of dynamic, um you know one, Steve is just an amazing guy, just like the nicest guy in the whole wide world. And so because I do think sometimes family situations can get tough, but like And he was, he was the history there is, um, you know, uh, we started our last software company, and the way it got started was I was with his daughter. We were in Australia. And we've been dating for like 8 or 9 months. And I was like, hey, I have this idea for a software company, and you've been a CFO for all these software companies. Like, how, tell me whether this is a good idea or not. And at the end of the call, he goes, hey, like the idea, really like the team, would love to put a little money into it and get it going. I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Like I was like 24, what do I do? And so he wrote the first check for $25,000, and we raised a little bit. We raised like another $75,000, and that's what got us going. And then he really he was on our board, and then was eventually the CFO of the company prior to selling it, and so just built really close relationships over that. And then also, we live here. My wife's family is like super super close, so we moved into Lafayette, and like her parents moved in 5 minutes away. Her sister moved in 5 minutes away. Her other brother moved in 5 minutes away. And so we see them probably 2-3 days a week, in addition to, doing business together.
Right.
So it's been a great relationship. And he's, he's like 7 for 7. Every single company he's been involved with as either CFO or COO has done really well. And again, have sold for between, call it 50 million and 900 million, across the spectrum. So we're hoping that we're going to be 8 for 8 with him in this one.
No kidding. From your
yeah.
lips to God's ears. Let's do it.
Exactly.
Put it in the universe.
Cross your fingers.
I love it. Well, I'm happy to be a part of the journey and sharing your story for sure, Conor. I admittedly, like I said, after we were linked, I was targeted, so I don't know if that was necessarily your plan, but I found you guys on social. And
Love
maybe it was because of the Meredith connection. I'm unsure. But of course, I was giddy to find out that there was a football connection, because I'm one of the only chicks that are in the liquor business and also a big football fan. I also loved the Gabe connection because surprise, I'm a Maroon 5 fan, for those of you that don't know. And so I, of course, had to wear an homage to Adam Levine. This was his clothing line. So there's that.
Oh, I love it.
This was just like a happy accident, and I'm so happy that we were connected, because I agree with you. Like this industry, this lifetime, all of it is about relationships. You're so lucky to be connected with certain people for so long, and that just means that you're a good person, you have good energy, and you're surrounding yourself with the same like-minded individuals, and that's what life's about. Like, you shouldn't waste your time on this planet, being around jerks and wasting what good ideas you have. And I think that was bold of you to talk about it with a potential father-in-law at that young age. And I think that's very special. And I think that just is the theme of this episode. You guys have a very cool story, very unique, super special. And you're going to be one of the products that us in the industry in years to come are going to reference, because I just feel that. I believe it. I like I said, I'm a fan of it. I was never a beer girl. I've been sipping this the whole episode. It is delicious. And for those of you that also are maybe not beer girls out there, I think that this is a nice way to intro you to this world. And what a mission. It's clean, and it's such a beautiful message about the name. I love that. That's your duty. I mean, there's so many great little clips we're going to pull from this. This is why you were a good guest, Conor, because you have your own podcast. So you know what you're doing over there. You're pro.
It definitely helps. I have to ask, as a big Vikings fan, was it painful watching Darnold win the Super Bowl?
Are you kidding? Of course. That should have been us. I mean, there's so many levels to this, and I won't wet blanket it and make it so sad and deep, but my mom was a big Vikings fan. She was from Minnesota, Bird Island, Minnesota, the smallest town in Minnesota. Their bumper sticker says, "Where the hell is Bird Island?" And so we've all had to be Vikings fans regardless. Now, shoot to when I have my second son and Justin Jefferson comes into the picture, why not? Other people are fans now. It's such a big deal. And yeah, we had a couple sad stories with our quarterbacks after that, and then comes Sammy. And, I'm from New York, so I had heard about him. And like I said, I'm a football girl, and I, was like, here he goes. He's going to look great, and then he's going to crap out. And sure as shit, that's the story. And it sucks, because then look at him. He was put in the right position with people behind him. And I love Kevin O'Connell, and I'm sure he believed in him. And who knows what happened behind the scenes. I don't work there. But at the end of the day, I was happy to see him win. I love JSN. I was very happy with how that worked. But at the end of the day, their celebration was boring. What the hell was that? It looked like they I don't know, watching that as a fan, I'm like, you just won the Super Bowl. Like, let's refer to the Eagles. Like, think of Saquon with the confetti and everybody. Like, what the hell was that? Sam just so serious. Like, I'm like, okay, forget it. Like, maybe it wasn't meant to be, you know?
I had the same thing happen with Stafford because I'm a big Lions fan.
Yeah.
Right? So he left, gets traded to the Rams, and then wins the Super Bowl. I'm like,
Yeah,
fuck.
I know.
Like, come on, man.
So unfair. It's hilarious. Well, thank you, Conor, so much for being on Sippin' and Sellin'. Is there anything else you want to leave the audience with? I mean, you had so much words of wisdom. I feel like you really knocked it out of the park.
Oh, thanks. What I'd say is, if anybody wants to try the beer, just shoot us a note on Instagram and we'll ship you some beer to try. And appreciate you guys all. I hope this was helpful and hope I get to meet as many of your listeners as I can.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Conor. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in to Sippin' and Sellin' today with Conor from Father's Brewing. Cheers to you, Conor. All
Cheers.
the success. Cheers.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sipping and Selling
With Joey Chanel.